Today we're going to talk about two Lansinoh breast pumps. We're going to talk about the Lansinoh Signature Pro and the Lansinoh Smartpump 3.0. I see these two pumps a lot, especially for free options or small upgrade options with insurance or with DME companies. So today we're going to talk about some of the pros and cons of these, do a quick setup for you, help you decide if these are good pumps for you, or if you already have it, kind of figure out how to use it. It's going to be all in one here. So if you have not picked a breast pump yet, I highly recommend that you explore the quiz down below. That will help give you a really good guide on getting started, what type of pump you need, what might work best from you. There'll be some DME companies down there below that might help you, all kinds of free stuff, coupon codes, all those kind of things. So take that quiz if you haven't already. Otherwise, let's just jump in. If you're new here, my name is Allison Tolman. I'm a breast pump expert and a coach for working moms. We talk a lot about breast pumps on this channel, so hopefully you're subscribed if pumping will be part of your experience. A few years ago, we developed a custom device to test breast pumps and give you graphs and data and things like that. So a lot of the information presented in this video today will be from that testing and research that we've done. I'm also the founder of the Pumping for Working Moms coaching program, which is a long-term coaching program to help career-driven women balance pumping and their careers. There's a link down below if you're interested in learning more about that. All right, let's dive into these two Lansinoh pumps. I think as I was working through a lot of this information, I decided to break them in half. So there'll be some timestamps down below. We're gonna start with the Lansinoh Signature Pro, and then we'll move into the same things in the Smart Pump, okay? So what do we like about this pump? Both of these pumps are really affordable. I think that's what makes them appealing a little bit is, again, they're often free from insurance or just really affordable options. I think the Signature Pro today is retailing for around $82 US, which is a pretty inexpensive pump. And again, one of the ones that is almost always covered from insurance. I did a video on this pump a few years ago, and in that one, I know I mentioned that I haven't been able to get it to perform well in testing. And I will say I actually did order a new one and retested it before this video just to verify, and I was actually able to get the newer one to perform a little bit better. So that's encouraging. And I think if you have this pump, or if this is kind of your only option, I know that happens sometimes, don't be discouraged. I think it can be made to work, especially if you can learn the other aspects of pumping correctly that you need to. So that being said, I have seen several moms struggle with it for a little while now. So it's not the highest quality pump, especially at that price point. It's just, it is what it is, but it can be a valid option and sometimes the only option for some. It does have to be plugged in to use. There is a battery compartment in the back. It takes 6 AA batteries though. You'll probably only get 4 or 5 pumping sessions on that many batteries. So that's kind of an expensive way to use the pump and a little bit wasteful. So I think most of the time you're going to be using it plugged in. So I would definitely classify this as a non-portable pump. The Lansinoh Smart Pump, on the other hand, does have a battery. So that makes it a nice option if that's something that you're looking for. It does have 3 different cycle speeds in expression mode, which is really, really cool. I always like it when pumps give you a few options for figuring that out. I'll put a graph up here on the screen of what's included from the companies. It kind of shows you the pumping style. Not only does the speed change a little bit, the pattern changes a little bit too. Now I'll show you a graph from my testing that I got. It looks a little bit different. This is an actual test, not just from the manual, but it kind of pauses on the top here again, which is really interesting. I think this is in pumping style 2, that second kind of mode. So a really interesting little pattern here. So tends to work just fine. The cycle speeds on this pump are actually pretty good. And if you're really confused on all of these things, suction, cycle speeds, all of these things we're talking about, I'll put another video down below kind of walking you through some of those metrics and what they mean. But the cycle speeds start out actually pretty quick on this pump at 144 cycles per minute. And then as you increase the suction and stimulation mode, the cycle speeds do go down, but they only go down to about, let me double check for you, 94. So even then it's still pretty fast, which is nice, right? I like faster cycle speeds, so that is a good feature about this pump. It has a pretty wide range of cycle speeds for you in expression mode as well, so no real struggles there. Okay, let's talk about some known problems and things to kind of watch out for. So actually it was really funny. In my original video of this a few years ago, I actually was trying to plug this into the suction hole because they both kind of fit this cord. So if you're plugging it in and wondering why it's not working, just make sure that you actually have it plugged in to the side that has power. So I got a lot of comments on that video saying moms had done the same thing and thought it was broken. So I did just want to call that out. Make sure you have it plugged in the right side. Seems silly, but whatever. The flange kit with this pump is also kind of unique. So it's a closed system. It's got that backflow protector in. We've seen that quite a bit. It does have wide mouth bottles in case that's something that you are looking for. The one weird thing about this pump is the flange size that it comes with is a 25, which is fine. Like most pumps come with a 24, but most of the inserts and adaptions that we have for getting the right flange size are set for a 24 millimeter flange. So you're gonna have a hard time getting inserts to fit in this if they are not directly from Lansinoh. So this atypical size is kind of annoying for me. I did pull out some of my other removable flange. This is just like a Medela flange, and it actually does fit really well in there. So you should be able to mix and match there. The sad thing about that is that I really like the Lansinoh flanges. I like the soft silicone on the outside and things like that, but just know that that atypical size might make it a little hard to use inserts, so you're probably just gonna have to get a different shield. It has a Y-based tubing, so there's only one suction port that you plug into the pump, and then you can double pump using this here, okay? So what that means is if you want to single pump, you have to plug off one of these sides with this little plug. I guess it is what it's called. So for example, this one is already set up in a single-sided pumping, so I've only got one flange hooked up here, and this other one is plugged to close the suction loop, all right? It does have a little adapter on the end here that needs to go in the pump, but that actually does come off really easily, so you should be able to use different parts with it if you wanted to. Okay, I'm gonna walk you through some of the settings on this pump. So fair warning, this is not the quietest pump on the market, okay? It does kind of have a funny clicking sound. So definitely, I would venture to say probably one of the loudest pumps that I have in my closet of over 100 breast pumps in there a little bit. So you've got, when you have the two little dots up here, that is stimulation mode, meaning the mode that you're gonna start with to initiate a letdown. To switch into expression mode, you're gonna push the little dots here to go into expression mode. And then you have three settings here, kind of noted by three different, I don't even know what that is called, little yin yang thing. So 1 is the fastest mode, 2 is a little bit slower, and then 3 is slower and longer. And then you can adjust the suction from there. You can kind of hear how that pattern pulls and holds and then releases like that. That's kind of similar to the graph that I showed you earlier. Sorry, I can't talk much more with that on because it is quite loud. But I think that brings us to the pros and cons quite nicely, all right? It's often free and inexpensive, so that can be a nice option. I get it, right? The suction does go up to about 220, 200 when you're double pumping, which is not the best, but it's probably okay. I have had moms able to max out the suction on this pump before, and I don't know. Anytime a mom comes to me and is having problems and is using the Lansinoh Signature Pro, I do tend to dive a little bit more into troubleshooting the pump and making sure that it's not the pump that's the problem, because sometimes it is. It's not always the case. If they come to me with a more reliable breast pump, we can kind of focus on other pumping aspects and not as much the pump, but this one is, you know, it is what it is. It's inexpensive. I will say that, and pretty standard and easy to use. Sometimes if it's your only option, then there you go. So again, just because it isn't my first choice in a breast pump doesn't mean that you can't make it work. Okay, and then let's also talk about the Lansinoh Smartpump 3.0. So this is also a really affordable pump. I think the price is about $129 US, which is definitely in that realm as well. I often see this one as well on insurance options for getting a pump that way as well. This one does have a battery, which is nice. You can use it plugged in or on a battery. It's got a nice LED screen and a carrying handle. It has Bluetooth as well and an app where you can track your pumping sessions. This one does automatically switch into expression mode after 2 minutes in stimulation mode, and then does have 3 distinct cycles as well, very similar to the Signature Pro. This one has very similar cycle speeds as well, especially in stimulation mode, maybe a little bit slower than the Signature Pro, but nothing that you will probably notice as the user, and expression mode looks really good too. I will say that this one has higher suction capabilities than the Signature Pro as well. I was able to get up to 275 instead of 220, 210 on the other one a little bit. So definitely higher suction capabilities here. The pattern looks a little bit different too. I'll put a graph up here on the screen for you with the suction pattern on this one. I don't think it has quite as strong of a hold on the top, but again, nothing concerning, just a little bit different feel. I actually can't show you a ton on this pump because it is a couple years old and it is not suctioning anymore. So I can get it to turn on, but it is providing no suction. So kind of an interesting note. I mean, I've had this for 3 or 4 years now and haven't used it a lot, but these pumps, I think both of them have about a 500 motor hour life. Again, this one does not have 500 hours of use on it, but they do just kind of get old over time. So very similar setting structure on this one. It will start in stimulation mode here, and you can adjust the suction there. You can switch then into expression mode, and it does have those 3 very similar yin yang symbols kind of thing, for going from slow, fast, and fastest. So really standard. It'll tell you how long you're pumping. Nothing really too different. They are very similar. Although, like I said, I can get quite a bit higher suction on the Smart Pump. And if I had to pick between these two, I almost always choose the Smart Pump just because it is a little bit better. And I don't even know what's different on the inside. It might be a really similar motor, but it does perform better almost all the time. Very similar flange kit. Again, same problems that we just talked about in the previous one in finding good flange fit and things like that. But you should be able to switch those shields out pretty well. So the pros of the Smart Pump is it's often covered via insurance, which is great. And like I said, anytime I am choosing between these two, I almost always choose the Smart. Well, I always do. If someone asks me first off, the answer for me is always the Smart Pump. Lansinoh also makes a really good baby nipple, like a bottle nipple. I don't think it comes with the pump because it's a WHO code violation, but for the nipples that we use for our clients, especially those who are combining breastfeeding and pumping together, Lansinoh does make a really nice nipple that'll fit on all these bottles as well. So that is a pro in, if you're going to be bottle feeding. I think when you're pumping, like, you're probably going to be bottle feeding too, because you're going to have all this express milk. So not a ton of cons with this pump. It's definitely fine. So it's not like a shining star of breast pumps for me, but I don't have any like major problems with it. It's really affordable and it's okay, right? The flange kit is not my favorite, but it performs all right, and it can work all right. So I don't really have any, major cons to share with you about it, other than it's just okay. And actually my assistant who's helping me with a lot of these scripts, she's like, can you kind of tell me why you like that one better than the other one, and maybe why it's not in your top 10 list? And I was like, I don't know. I just can't even tell you. It's just a vibe, right? So there you go. If you wanted my opinion on that, maybe I'll try and be more articulate in the blog post that goes along with this and see if I can really nail that down. But it's a fine pump and fairly simple to use. So if you're asking me, would I buy these pumps kind of knowing what else is available on the market? The Signature Pro, for sure not. And the Smart Pump is a maybe. It seems like a nice pump and definitely a great size. So I think once you start working in all of the aspects of pumping, there's a lot that goes into that other than just, slapping it on and pushing go. It can cause a little bit of tricky, but it can be a nice place to start. So I hope that was helpful for you in kind of getting used to these pumps, knowing what you like, what you don't, maybe some of the features that you didn't know it had on there as well. So comment down below and tell me what you think. Have you ever used one of these pumps? What was your experience like? It's always a fun thing for me to pair some of the data that we've gathered on testing these pumps with actual real user reviews. We have a great Facebook group too that's really fun to be in, and we talk all about breast pump reviews, making them work well, things like that. So I hope to see you there. All right, good luck and happy pumping.